Welcome to Star Wars Action News, helping Star Wars collectors collect better.
Greetings all, this is Steve the Ginger Prince, official UK reporter for Star Wars Action News. And the last time you heard from me, I was in the back of a fast car speeding away from Force Friday, virtually empty-handed. And I can't believe that 6 weeks later things have changed so little and so much at the same time. If you remember that rainy night in September, I came home from Toys R Us happy, but that was only because I'd had a whiskey and I'd met some lovely people in the queue. In toy terms, I'd had a right stinker, and I looked pathetic clutching my sole purchase of the evening, a Micro Machine set that, if I'm honest, I bought just to buy something. Well, I've been to the Toys R Us in Manchester, one of the biggest in the country, 6 times since Force Friday. Every Saturday morning since, in fact. And I'm sad to report that nothing's really changed. Toys R Us used to be such a happy hunting ground for me. It was second only to Forbidden Planet on my store rotation on a toy run. But now it's been reduced to the last place I visit. Sort of a, I'll check it because I have to, not because I actually think I'll find anything there. Their selection of 5 points of articulation 3 3/4 inch The Force Awakens is gradually improving, but you're still lucky if you want anything other than a Vader, a Luke, a Finn or a Constable Zuvio, who by the way is looking like a surprise peg warmer of the first wave. They have virtually no Black Series. In fact, in 6 weeks I've seen 2 6-inch figures in there, a Chewie and a Finn, and that's it. Yes, they've got the 12-inch dolls, the Micro Machines, the Lego sets and lots of other Force Awakens stuff, but when it comes to the meat and potatoes of my collecting, action figures, it's a sad state of affairs. Pull your finger out, Jeffrey. Despite Toys R Us being more barren than Aunt Beru's larder, as those of you who've been watching the Star Wars Action News Periscope feed will know, I've been lucky enough to pick up nearly all the figures that I've wanted to, thanks to a flood of them at a host of other stores that are now firmly integrated into my weekly toy run. And yes, that's right, the pickings are so good elsewhere that I'm now going on at least one toy run every week. It's like the good old days of 2005, when there was so much Revenge of the Sith stuff out there, I felt the figures were finding me, and not the other way around. Top of the crop is the Disney store in the Manchester Arndale shopping centre, which over the last 6 weeks has slowly been taken over by Star Wars. And on a Saturday morning you'll now find a roughly equal number of sweaty and excited bearded middle-aged men as you will little kids dressed like Princess Elspeth, or whatever her name is. Seriously, the Disney store is my #1 stop now, and I found everything that I want in their own Elite series line, 3/4 of my Wave 1 and Wave 2 3 3/4 inch action figure purchases, the Sphero BB-8 and everything Funko Pop that I wanted there. It's not just the Disney store coming good though. Forbidden Planet in Manchester took a week or so to get their act together, but is now well stocked each week. The Entertainer Toy Shop, which is usually 6 months behind, is surprisingly up to date and well worth a poke. And if you're not including the supermarkets in your toy run, start now, because they've got just as much stuff. Asda, part of the Walmart family, is leading the charge, even having Kylo Ren painted on the side of their home delivery trucks. And their aisles are full of 5 points of articulation 3 3/4 inch. And last night I even found new Black Series 3 3/4 inch there. Chewbacca, Luke and Vader figures I was unaware even existed. J Sainsbury's is also worth a weekly visit, regularly getting in fresh plastic. And I don't care if the folks doing their weekly big shop are staring at my basket of action figures and beer, it's now a firm part of my toy run. Okay, I hope I've painted the picture well enough for you. Basically, we're flush with figures here in the UK, as long as the only store near you is not Toys R Us. Right, let's get down to business and let you know some of my thoughts on what I'm picking up. Let's start with what I think is the standout line so far, the Disney Elite series figures. Well, standout from a certain point of view. At cheaper than the Black Series 6-inch, the Elite figures for me are a significantly better figure. More weight, great paint jobs, and they look superb posed despite more limited articulation. I've picked up the Captain Phasma and the Kylo Ren, and I couldn't be happier with both. They're my favourite Force Awakens purchases so far. By the way, Phasma is my most anticipated character, by a long way. Named after one of my favourite films, Please Please Cover It Now playing, and like a reverse ladyboy, looks like a man, but really it's a woman, she's a complete badass in her chrome armour, and Phasma would make a great name for a little girl. Nudge nudge wink wink Boy Everest. Now I went all old Ben on you there a moment ago, because I'm not completely sold on the Elite line. It's been said before, but there are problems with this line that have stopped me picking up the Troopers. The highly visible black screws in their white armour are a real negative, and I'll be going Black Series 6-inch for my Trooper figures. And herein is the second problem with the line. The scale is all over the place. The Elite series seems to be a 7-inch line for The Force Awakens, and then drops down to 6-inch for the prequel trilogy figures that have started to come out. I picked up the Darth Maul, and whilst he's a great representation of the character, he stands a full head and a half below the Force Awakens figures, and looks more correct displayed with the 6-inch Black Series. Talking of Black Series, I didn't get my grubby little hands on 6 inches until yesterday, when I found the First Order Trooper at Asda, the first time I've seen one in the wild. A couple of quid more than the Disney Elite version that I could have picked up 6 weeks ago. I love the design of this trooper, and I'm totes happy with him. His armour doesn't look too yellowy white, and despite a little sloppiness on his bucket paint job, he looks pretty dang good. I can't wait to have a relapse of Clone Midia and get my hands on more of the white menace of the First Order troops in this line. I've had a think and I'm at ease with my decision to mix and match in this scale. I'm buying certain characters in the Elite line, probably those with cloaks or clothing that covers those screws, troops in the Black Series 6-inch, and also probably going to stick to the Black Series when it comes to original trilogy and prequel trilogy. I'm also picking and choosing when it comes to the 5 points of articulation 3 3/4 inch line. If there's a new character from The Force Awakens, I'm picking it up, but I'm leaving all that Rebels guff and the OT stuff like Vader and Luke on the pegs. I'm also dipping my toe into those enhanced single figures and the box 2-packs if necessary. I've been lucky enough to find all but 2 figures, the alien rebel pilot Asti and the Snowtrooper, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time before that's rectified. So, let's quickly rank my findings. Top of the pops for me is Captain My Captain. I've already explained my man love for this character, and short of swapping out that soft plastic cape for a soft goods version, this is close to being a perfect 5 points of articulation figure for me. In second place comes Kylo Ren. Not the snowbound enhanced single figure, you know, the one who looks like he's done a Balky and dropped the cocaine down his cloak. No, the one that's been released in both waves. Great paint job on his helmet, and a rib lightsaber for your pleasure. They're both doing it for me. Third in my opinion is the First Order Trooper. A no-nonsense figure that makes a great troop builder, and if you pick up a spare fin, you can do a cheeky head swap to create that sweaty "where am I" moment from the teaser trailer. Fourth is the only Star Wars character named after an exotic fruit, the Guavian Enforcer. He's Deadpool level cool, and the figure does a great job combining shiny black plastic armoured pieces with a lovely red flight suit. It's just the wrong colour plastic head that stops this being the number one. Fifth is the new face of Star Wars, Beach Ball 8. This guy came as an accessory in a 2-pack, but is everything that I hoped a figure of this character would be. Slightly bigger than a Subbuteo ball, and with a small flattened circle on his underside, he can stand perfectly still. And he has a great 1 point of articulation so that you can make him look like he's speeding off somewhere. Next is General Hux, another ginger in Star Wars. Yay! Anyone in all black is cool, but it's the detailed insignia on his hat and coat that make this figure pop, and make me forget that completely unnecessary peg hole in his back. Zuvio is next for me. He's got a great paint job on his helmet and shoulder armour, and I'm not quite sure why so many people seem to be leaving him on the pegs. Gos Tua's next. This guy's all about those gold gloves. I don't ever think I've seen better gold paint on an action figure. Peasy Forcio, thanks Jay for the pronunciation lessons, is a weird looking droid and a horrible blue colour, but Hasbro have done a good job with this figure, and he definitely stands out when you've got the whole squad assembled. We're then into the lower tier of these 5 points of articulation figures for me. Either the characters are a little uninspiring, or Hasbro have balked up the figure. In 10th place, I'd put the Unkar Thug. For me, this character's got a name like he should be an Indiana Jones, not the Wars, and he looks like a bit of a Tusken Raider ripoff. Next in the pecking order is the Flame Trooper. I like the design here, but the figure is unbalanced by his fuel tank, and the hose and gun are made out of too soft a plastic, meaning they come out of the bubble all bendy. It's a bugger to stand this guy up. In 12th place, I'd put Casual Poe Dameron. This guy is one of those enhanced single pack figures, but I much prefer it to the pilot version, as we can see Oscar's lovely face. 13th is the TIE Fighter pilot. My opinion is that this design is not enough of an upgrade on the original character, and despite some lovely insignia on his shoulder armour, they've not used enough contrasting type plastic for it to pop. It just looks a bit cheap. Red Arm 3PO is 14th and R2-D2 15th. Nowhere near the best representations of these much loved characters, but they're perfectly fine for 5 points of articulation. 16th is the Jakku Scavenger. This guy is Ugnaught size, and whilst he's got some nice detail on his breathing mask, it's the feet that put me off here. He looks like a duck wearing flip-flops. 17th is X-Wing pilot Poe Dameron, and I imagine there's a Black Series version of this coming out later on that will blow this away. Great looking character design, but so much wrong with this figure, from no removable helmet to a wrong colour flight suit to too chunky a build. Occupying 3 of the bottom 4 places are our 3 new leads, as 18th and 19th are Finn and Rey. Both of these wardrobe choices for these characters are uninspiring, and I understand we're only seeing the first half hour of the film in these 2 waves, but neither of these figures is doing it for me. The Finn figure just doesn't look Star Wars. It's perfectly fine, but you could pick him up and drop him into a figure diorama of real life. He's basically just wearing jeans and a t-shirt with a jacket. Rey is worse. The figure looks now like Daisy, and she's wearing shorts. Add to that the fact she's got a rifle that it's impossible to sling over her shoulder, and you've got a dud. Bottom of the pile for me is the Resistance Trooper. The artwork on the card depicts a trooper with a translucent visor on his helmet, and Hasbro have cheaped right out and just painted it opaque yellow. A massive fail that moves this immediately to last place. I can't leave the 3 3/4 inch line without railing on the pack-ins. I love a good pack-in. My favourite was the freeze frame slides. I've got the binocular viewer and the plastic wallets to store them in. By the way, I still don't own them all, so if anyone out there has got spares, hit me up and we can check if you can be my hero and complete me. Yes, the slides had a purpose, as did the coins, the talking contact chips, even those cheap little red and blue holograms that could be used to make a chess set. But these pack-ins for the 5 points of articulation Force Awakens line, I mean, what are they? What are you meant to do with them? Yes, I understand they're meant to give parents more bang for their buck and increase the toyetic play value of the figure, but let's be honest, which self-respecting 5-year-old would give these cheap bits of plastic the time of day? Unless you're the customiser guy, I'm betting you're all doing what I'm doing and shoving them all straight in a drawer and forgetting all about them. I may at some point melt them all down, pour them into moulds of the letters F, A, I and L and mail them back to Hasbro.
Thanks for watching this video. You can see full episodes of Star Wars Action News with more collecting news and reviews at swactionnews.com. We also have thousands of toy and collectible photos in our photo gallery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. May the pegs be stocked and the Force be with you.